Hello everyone, welcome to the next episode on SAP UI5 and Fiori training. In the last session in UI5, we started with the introduction of SAP UI5 framework. We saw how to create our first application using JavaScript code in SAP UI5. We just created a simple index HTML to create our application, and in that application we just had a simple button control. I have given an exercise and I'm happy to see that most of you have given me solution of the exercise. You all have created an input field and a button and then gave me the solution exercise already. In today's session, we will go ahead and discuss more in detail about the UI5 SDK, how to use its properties, events, methods, and aggregations. And also we'll talk about MVC architecture. So what is MVC architecture? Let's begin with MVC architecture so that it's important and helpful for us to be able to create proper applications as per the standard. So what is MVC architecture? MVC stands for Model, View, and Controller. It is a design pattern which is used to design applications whenever we have UI involved. So in any framework or anything which you use ever in software industry, there are very common frequent problems. Like always you might have thought about while you're working with object oriented world. Hey Anubhav, what is the best way to create object? Hey Anubhav, what is the best way to send an object to another object? Hey Anubhav, what is the best way to position my objects in a way that I can extend it for future? What is the best way to handle events, right? These questions might have come in your mind while you're using object oriented world, and not that all is just not the question which you may have asked, but there may be these questions which somebody else also has these questions in their mind. So because most of the time the requirements are more or like same in the industry, so that is why the big set of architects have sat together and they have come up with this list of design patterns. What is a design pattern? A design pattern in object oriented world, a design pattern is a common solution to a common problem. Like how to create object. It's a common problem. Everybody face this. What is the best way to create object? How to design in a way that I can extend it in future. That's a common problem. Likewise, you have so many common problems. For each of these common problems, there are common solutions. These common solutions are provided and they have become design pattern. There are top three categories of design pattern. The first is called creational design pattern, which deals with only creating the object. The second comes is behavioral design pattern, and third one comes is I forgot the name. So there are like three design pattern categories: creational, behavioral, and I missed out the another category. Let me just quickly Google the same. So types of design pattern. It is structural. Perfect. So the third category is structural, the most important category actually. So these are all the design patterns which software industry have evolved and developed over a period of time. If you want to know more about design pattern and you want to become an architect in your career, it is very important, very, very important that you know these design patterns, at least some of them which are the top used one. I have a very, very exclusive course for ABAP developers, those who are working in ABAP since years. I have designed a course called Design Pattern with Object Oriented ABAP. This is the course ABAP Objects and OOPS ABAP training. In this, actually, I have taught some design patterns which are very, very important for you to become an architect. If you want to become ever an architect in your company, subscribe this course. This is very helpful for you. It's available only in video mode. I'm no more taking live classes for this. In this course, I've taught the design patterns, guys. Okay, which are very important for you to know. Some of these course video itself I have posted in our current course. It's not the complete course of OOPS, but complete course of OOPS is this one. It includes design patterns. So now MVC is also a design pattern. When to use MVC, anybody? Whenever you have user interface, that is the time. That's a golden rule. Whenever you have a UI, you will use MVC design pattern. Clear, everybody? When to use MVC design pattern? Whenever you have a user interface. Now user interface can be in Android, it can be in Angular JS, it can be into WebDin Pro, it can be into BSP, it can be into UI5. And if you all see those who have worked with WebDin Pro, it also works on MVC design pattern. What MVC design pattern does, what it says, believe me, guys, MVC design pattern is nothing different than your engineering. What is the abstract of whole engineering? Anybody? What is the abstract? Be it mechanical, electronics, electrical, instrumentation, field applied electronics, field semiconductors, or engines, combustion engines, mechanical, be it any topic. What is the abstract of whole engineering? Anybody? Can you tell me the abstract of whole engineering? Any subject you pick up, anything you pick up, the abstract of whole engineering. The abstract of whole engineering is sorry, input output, processing, and data. That's the abstract of whole engineering. Pick up anything. Four stroke combustion engine, you pick it up. Input output, processing, data. Microprocessors, micro controllers, input output, processing, data. Mechanical, input output, processing, data. Computers, input output, processing, data. Same tarj pe, we have created the MVC design pattern. Input output, processing, and data should be separate. They should function independently. However, there is a close collaboration between them. And that's where it becomes the input output block is called view, which is nothing but used only for input and output. Processing is only by controller does all your complicated processing, and data is represented by model. Is that clear, everybody? What is MVC architecture? Input output, which is nothing but your view, processing, which is nothing but your controller, and data, where you keep your data, you will keep your data into the model. Is that clear, everybody? What is MVC architecture? Is that clear, everyone? What is model view controller architecture? Input, output, processing, and data. That's it. It's so easy to understand. Input, output, processing, and data. MVC architecture, guys. Very interesting, very important for every one of you to be able to work with UI5 in upcoming days. Okay. Now, what exactly happening here? When it comes to input output processing and data, whenever user gives an input, the view sends a signal and notifies the controller, hey, I have got some input from user. So view triggers something called an event. You saw in yesterday's class, there was an activity, actually activity performed, and this activity would have caused an event to trigger, and this event is then by sensed by the event handler in the controller, and then controller does its processing. Once the controller is done with the processing, controller transfers a state to the view. Controller say, hey, can you now show a pop-up to the user? That's called state. So it notifies, it sends an activity, and that then it receives a state. So view then remains into some other state. That's your view. So view is nothing but what users see. What you want to show to the user is what the view is all about. Okay, user will always see your view. End user will always see your view. Then processing will be done in the controller. We'll not do processing like we did yesterday. We did entire processing yesterday somewhere else. We have done it all mix up in HTML5 itself. We don't do that. We have to modularize now, and the data is kept in the model. Okay, now what happens if there is a need to change the data? The controller, however, then modifies the data. Controller sends a signal to the model and say, hey model, can you please change the data for me? Yeah, so what it does, it notifies the model, can you please change the data for me? And once the model changes the data, model sends a signal back as something called like, hey, I have modified the data for you. So that's actually an update. So it sends an update, hey controller, whatever you ask me, I have done that. So this is the MVC architecture. Clear guys, what is MVC architecture? Model view controller, input output processing and data. All three has to be separate. Why are we making it separate? You will understand the reason why are we making it separate. Very important reason behind it. It's all about reusability and making your application in such a way that the application is actually built in such a way that it is maximum reusable. Okay, maximum reusable. That's why we are making it. There are different types of views and there are different types of models in SAP UI5. So when it comes to views, there are four types of views in SAP UI5. The first type of view is JavaScript view. Second comes is XML view. Third comes is JSON view. And fourth comes is HTML view. Now, the next question which you guys are thinking, Anubhav, which view is used the most in practical world? I have seen with my experience 10% of your views are created in JavaScript in some projects. 90% 90% views are coded in XML. 0% view in productive application. Till date I have seen almost more than 300 Fury apps, and none of the Fury app till date I could find HTML or JSON view. None of the Fury app. This is 0%. So what should be our focus area, anybody? What should be our focus area for creating the views? What should be our focus area? Where should we spend most of our time working on which type of views? Absolutely XML views. The next question comes in your mind, which is also an interview question. What is the difference between JS view and XML view? Why are we using XML view more than JS view? Right? We're going to talk about that also in a minute. Now, that's about the types of views. What are all the types of models we have in SAP UI5? We have again four types of model: JSON model, XML model, resource model, and OData model. 100% Fury app uses this. Almost every app which has a connectivity to SAP system uses this. 100% application uses resource model. This was not seen till date in any application by me, and this also is heavily used in almost every Fury application. So this is how we use models in different applications when it comes to models. Clear everybody? So these are all the again the footprint of the models in the. Now don't panic right now, Anubhav, which model is better, what is the purpose. We're gonna have detailed unit on each of these topic in upcoming days, so don't panic. It will be heavy dose if I give you now immediately. So wait for some time, right time comes you will know things right. Now guys, next important thing. Now what do you think? If I want to just take the data in my view, I want to display some data in the view, and this data is kept with the model. I just want to display this data in the view. Do I need to take this long path, cross the Indian Ocean, and then cross the Bay of Bengal, and then reach Kolkata? Does it really need it? If I have to just display the data which is there in the model in the view, do I need processing in the middle? I just want to display data, whatever is available in the model. Do I need to take this long path? What do I do? What do you think is expected? What do you think, guys? What do you think? Do you need to take this long path all the way around all the oceans and crossing all the oceans to bring the data to the view from the model? Or can you draw a easy and a better path? Is there any easy and a better path? Anybody? Is there any easy and a better path? Is there an in this photo? Forget about concepts. In this photo, can you? Is there any way? Yes. Very good, Geeta. You are right. Can we do this? Yes, it is possible. We can create and open a channel, a tunnel directly between these two. Yeah, we can open a tunnel directly between these two. They can exchange data directly without need of controller. If there is no processing required on the data, we can do that. And this concept is called binding, or it's also known as data binding. So what is data binding? Anybody? It is an interview question. What is data binding? It is an interview question. What is data binding? 100% interview question. 100%. There is no way you can skip this question. What is data binding? What is data binding? Anybody? What is data binding? Data binding. Data binding. What is data binding? Is a process of connecting view UI elements directly with model properties. Okay, it is a method, it's a way, it's a methodology, or it's a process of connecting the view UI element. Suppose a table needs to get the data, suppose the input field needs to get the data. It's a process of connecting UI element directly with the model properties and exchanging the data. Clear, everybody? What is data binding? In SAP UI5 we have four types of data binding. ये इंटरव्यू क्वेश्चन है, 100% इंटरव्यू क्वेश्चन है, 100% इंटरव्यू क्वेश्चन, भूल नहीं जाना, इसको तकलीफ हो जाएगा। बहुत बड़ा इंटरव्यू क्वेश्चन है। ऑलमोस्ट एवरी सिंगल इंटरव्यू दिस क्वेश्चन इज asked. This is also certification question. Now what are all the types of data binding in UI5? First type of binding is called property binding. Second is called expression binding. Third is called aggregation binding. And finally it's called element binding. Clear, everybody? Now your dimag is running fast, your mind is running fast. You're thinking, Anubhav, what are all these for? How to work with them? What is the difference? How to use them? I know these questions comes in your mind because you're human. Human has this ability to think. Human has this ability to generate curiosity. Absolutely fine, but right now, heavy dose of antibiotic. Let's wait for right time. You will understand each concept in detail very well. Okay, so right now, just understand data binding is a process of connecting UI elements. With the help of that, you can exchange the data between view and model directly without going to controller. That is called binding process. There are four types of binding in UI5. Now guys, we will start creating our first MVC application. So let us go ahead and do that. So the same application which I did yesterday, I'm going to convert to an MVC based application. Let's start with that. Create a new folder, and now I'm going to create my MVC app. And watch out guys, we're going to group all the things properly. So we're going to create proper folders. So I create new folder. I create one folder called view. I create another folder. I call this folder as controller. And then I create my index HTML file. Okay. So I've created folder for my views, folder for my controller, and an index.html file. So now what we will do is, once these things are created, let's start with index.html. So as usual, we're going to get first the bootstrap. So this time I'm going to save some time. We can do copy paste because we know the concept. So speed up to do the copy paste. So I've done this copy paste just to explain you what we have done in the last class. Do you have any problem with this particular copy paste? Any doubt in these lines which we copied here? Anybody? Any doubt on these lines which we copied here from the last example? This is all we had written by our own hand. We understand the meaning of every line. Hence, I don't think so there's any doubt to save some time and write the copy paste in this case. Yeah, but still is continuing, no copy paste anymore. Okay, so this is, we know, that's why we can copy paste. Now guys, the very first thing which you got to do, there has to be some technique by which you should recognize the address of each file. We are going to create a view, we are going to create controller. Now it is important it is important for you to know the address where the view is, right? It is important for you to know the address where the controller is. How do you tell, how do you tell the system, how do you tell the UI5 framework that hey, this is the place where all my files are present? You have to tell the UI5, hey, you can go and find my files in this folder, my files in this folder, my files in this folder, right? There has to be way. Guys, one question to all of you: if you ever have to send a letter to somebody, what do you need to know? What do you need to know? If you ever have to send a letter to somebody, what do you need to know? You need to know the address, correct? Very good answer. That's a common sense. You need to know the address. So don't you think you're talking to UI5 and telling, hey UI5, can you please create object of my view and controller? Don't you think you have to tell the UI5 the address where the files are? Guys, what do you think? Don't you think you have to tell the UI5 framework where your files are so that UI5 can create the object of these views and controller for you, right? That's what exactly we're going to do in our first step. We are going to tell UI5 where all our files are. Typically, all the files we keep it in something called web app folder, and we're going to give a file path to that web app folder. So what I'll do is I'll create a new folder here called web app. This is standard. Okay, this is standard we follow, and I'm going to move all my index html including controller and view folder inside the web app directory. And now you see I have my web app directory, and this web app directory I will give some address. इसका address मुझे देना है. This one I will give some address to UI5. I'll say, hey UI5, please address to this folder. Everything which you want is there inside this folder. I have to tell the UI5 the address of this. How do I tell? I have to tell that very easily. There's a syntax for that. Data SAP UI resource roots equals to, it's a JSON. So single quote curly braces. This is a JSON, and now you have to tell what is the name of the address. The current working directory. Dot slash means current working directory. Can anybody tell me which file I am into right now? Which file I am into right now? Anybody? Which file I am into right now? कौन सा फाइल में मैं काम कर रहा हूं अभी? Which file? No, no. Very good. विवेक is right. You can see ऊपर तो दिख रहा है सर, सब कुछ सामने दिख रहा है आपको. सब कुछ सामने दिख रहा है. Index HTML file I am into. Now tell me current working directory of index HTML. What is the current working directory of index HTML? देखो यहाँ पे. What is the current working directory for index HTML? Anybody? Web app is the current working directory. Perfect answer. Web app is the current working directory. So don't you think this is representing current working directory? Dot slash means current working directory. Don't you think guys dot slash means current working directory? Do you all agree? Do you all agree dot slash means current working directory, which is web app folder for index HTML? Yes. So that is the address we are telling. Now this address has to have some name. So that is what we got to give in the first double quote. Here you have to give some name. I want to give some name. Let's say whatever name you wish you can give. Anybody, what is your favorite cartoon character? Anybody? What is your favorite cartoon character? कोई भी बता दो अपना. Geeta, you can tell. What is your favorite cartoon character, Geeta? What is your favorite cartoon character, Geeta? It's
Jerry.
okay. Let's put Jerry here. Clear everybody? So यहाँ पे कुछ भी आ सकता है. I am writing here Jerry. Is that clear, guys? Jerry means my web app folder. So now anytime if I want to refer to web app folder, what will I refer? If anytime if I ever want to refer to web app folder, what will I start with? I will start with Jerry. Perfect answer. Did you guys understood this concept? Did you guys understood this addressing concept to tell the UI5 what is the address of my root folder? What is the address of my root folder? This is the path I am saying. This is my root folder. Okay, I will repeat again. So guys, whenever you want to send an address to whenever you want to send a letter to somebody, you need address of that person. Similarly, UI5 needs to point to your controllers and views, right? You need to point to views and controllers or anything for that matter. So you need to tell the address to the UI5 where your folders are, where your files are. So how do you tell UI5 the address? You will say data SAP UI resource roots equals to a JSON. It's written in JSON format, that's why it's a JSON. And I'm saying current working directory of index HTML, which is web app folder. It should be represented by Jerry, which is Gita's favorite cartoon character. Okay, so now if ever I want to refer to any file, I will say Jerry dot folder name dot file name. Clear everybody? I can refer it pretty easily. So Jerry in whole of my project, Jerry will be the root folder name. Jerry will represent the name of the root folder, web app folder. Clear everybody? Jerry will represent the address or the path or the address of the root folder, which is web app folder for my files. That's what it is. So anytime yes, it's like a alias name. We have given aliasing for this concept is called namespace. ये मत भूल जाना, बहुत तकलीफ हो जाएगा. This concept is called namespace. What is it called? This concept is called namespace. Is that everybody clear? This concept is called namespace. What is it called? Come on, repeat with me. Please type in the chat window what this concept is called. What this concept is called. Please type with me in chat window. Everybody, Yamini, you're right. Very good, Yamini, you're right. Okay, Srinivas, you're also right. Perfect. Yes, Deepak, you're right. Sridevi, right. Rajkumar, right. Hemendra, right. Surya, right. Geeta, you're right. Sayed, you're right. Srinivas, you're right. KS, you're right. Harita, you're right. Vivek, perfect. Namespace, it's called namespace. Uday, Pavan, everybody, you are all right. This concept is called namespace concept. We are namespacing. नामांकरण हिंदी में बोलते हैं जब बच्चा पैदा होता है तो हम उसका नेमिंग सेरेमनी करते हैं. सिमिलरली अभी आपके UI5 प्रोजेक्ट ने जन्म लिया है, उसका नेमिंग कन्वेंशन किया है, हमने उसको नेम स्पेस दिया है. दिस इज जेरी. जेरी इज योर वेब ऐप फोल्डर. क्लियर एवरीबॉडी? जेरी इज योर वेब ऐप फोल्डर. एवरीवेयर यू विल यूज जेरी नाउ, because you have to address everything. ऐसे हर कहीं हर कुछ नहीं बना सकते. You can't make a house anywhere wherever you like. You have to have proper address, right? So it has to have an address. Every file you create has to have an address. Let's go and create our view now. Right click on the web app folder, click new, and choose option SAP UI5 view. Guys, if you don't see this SAP UI5 view option, what you do is just go to the main application. Ideally, when you create a web app folder, you should see that option. But if you don't get it, go to the main app, right click, go to project settings, and then in the project settings, you have to choose project type and choose the project type as SAP Fiori. Just choose project type as SAP Fiori and click on save. You will start seeing that option. Those who don't create a web app folder, you won't get that option actually. So it's why I'm saying please create web app folder. Under that you keep everything. It will be good. And then give your namespace as first. So let me note down what is namespace. Namespace is used to indicate the root folder of your UI5 application. It is used as a prefix now to address every single file of your application. That's what the namespace does. Okay. Now somebody is again asking, how come system know that the Jerry representing web app? Again, I repeat, you see dot slash. Dot slash means what? It means current working directory. I am into which file right now? Index HTML फाइल. इंडेक्स HTML का करंट वर्किंग डायरेक्टरी क्या है? इधर देखो, इंडेक्स HTML का करंट वर्किंग डायरेक्टरी क्या है? व्हाट इज द करंट वर्किंग डायरेक्टरी ऑफ इंडेक्स HTML? व्हाट इज द करंट वर्किंग डायरेक्टरी ऑफ इंडेक्स HTML? It is web app folder. So don't you think system will now point Jerry as current working directory to the web app folder? Are you clear now? What is index HTML current working directory? Dot slash means web app. So that's why Jerry is representing the web app folder. This is the namespace. Okay. Now let's move on. And now we're going to create our view. Right click here on the web app folders in new. Please create me a view, SAP UI5 view. And now, wow, wow, wow. You can see here a drop down to choose the view types, which I told you 4 types of views we have. We choose JavaScript view. And now what will you give in namespace? Anybody? What will you give here in namespace? Anybody? What will you give? Perfect. Anybody? Who else? Yes, Jerry is what you give. That's your namespace, guys. Jerry is what you have to give. Jerry. Wow, guys, you all understood the concept of namespace today. Jerry is your namespace. What is the view name I want to give? It's your choice. I can give Anubhav also. It's your choice. Whatever name you like, you can give. यहाँ Jerry देना क्योंकि आपने वहाँ Jerry डाला है. Okay. So that's your namespace. This is your view name. Click on next. Click on finish. Congratulations, your view and your controller has been created. Superb, guys. Congratulations. You have successfully created your first UI5 application. Congratulations, ये proper MVC use करके you have created your first UI5 application. We will not get into view and controller right now. Let us create the object of the view now here. Okay, so in my script tag here, I will say create the object of my view. So I say var o view. You can keep it anything. New sap.ui.view. Please create a view object for me. What is the ID I want to give? ID Anubhav I want to give. Whatever you like, you can give. I can give ID Spider-Man. Whatever you like, you can give ID of the view. And now curly braces, you have to pass 3 properties. The first property comes is view name. In fact, 2 itself is enough. And the view type. The type of the view here is XML view, sorry, JavaScript view. So we'll just say JS. And the view name is, now guys, let's see who understood the concept of namespace. Who will tell me the address of my view anubhav.js? Who will tell me the address of my Anubhav? यहाँ पे letter drop करना है आपको. What is the address of anubhav.js? It is web app directory, which is jerry dot view folder dot Anubhav. Is that clear, everybody? What is the address of Anubhav? It is jerry dot view folder. आ रहा है देखो बीच में. जब किसी को लेटर ड्रॉप करने जाओगे तो बीच में कुआं आएगा, बीच में खेड़ी आएगी, बीच में नदी आएगी, बीच में रेलवे ट्रैक आएगा, बीच में टेम्पल आएगा, बीच में मस्जिद आएगी. This is what is happening when you're traveling. You can see a lot of sightseeings. So view is a sightseeing. So jerry dot view dot Anubhav. Is that clear, everybody? It's a landmark. View here is your landmark where your view is present. So jerry dot view dot Anubhav. Is that clear, everybody? The path, it's all possible because of namespace. Without namespace, UI5 is dead. Without namespace, UI5 is dead. You can't run your project without namespace. It's dead. That's why namespace सबसे पहला concept है. इसके बिना कुछ भी नहीं है. दुनिया नहीं है इसके बिना. UI5 is nothing because of namespace. It's all because of namespace. There is no concept in UI5 without namespace. Everything has to be around namespace. Is that clear, everybody? So now what is the address of Anubhav view? It is very simple. Jerry, which is my root folder, web app folder. यहाँ से चालू करो web app. उसके बाद view folder. So just say view dot anubhav. Okay, you don't have to say anubhav.view.js. It is understood because we are creating a view object. It is understood that Anubhav is a view. Okay, because we're creating view object, it is understood that Anubhav is a view. So you just have to put the view name. That's it. Clear everybody how to create a view object here. Anybody, any doubt here? How to create a view object with the help of namespace, with the help of address? Is that clear to everybody? Why do we have to create view object? Yesterday, why do you have to create the button object? Answer that question first, Pavan. Why you have to create button object yesterday? How come button object was needed for us to create? हवा में थोड़ी आ जाता है ये सब चीजें. You have to do it. You have to create objects. You have to play with the objects. Then only things will work, right? View is also, consider view as a button. Yesterday we created button object, right? Similarly, we have to also create the view object, isn't it? Just the way you created button object, on same fashion you have to also create the view object, right? How will UI5 will know that there is this view which we want to create an object for? I will show you also in detail in a minute how it works, how UI5 understand all these things and runs your project. Let us go ahead now, and now we're going to place this in the body of HTML. So I'm going to come back. You can see we have a content div, and I'll say on about dot place at. Please place this in the content of the body. Just the way you yesterday worked with the button, same way you have to work with the view. View is also a UI control. Okay, this is also UI control, which is creating an object of this view and placing it into the body of HTML. Okay, now here index HTML is part of view or a controller. Index HTML is the starting point for your app. When you run your app, index HTML is the launching point. It is the starting point. From index HTML, it is navigating to the view. Index HTML is starting your view. And when your view starts, that view starts the controller. So ऐसा dependency है. And who start your index HTML? Who starts your index HTML? Who starts your index HTML? Will God start your index HTML? Who executes the index HTML? Who understand the index HTML, guys? Who understand? Let me see how many of you can really answer. Where will the launchpad come from? I don't know what is launchpad. Forget about launchpad. I didn't even taught that. How can that concept come right now here? Who start the index HTML? Who launch? Who understand what is written this code? Who understand this code? Perfect, Pawan. UI5 framework, guys. Yesterday we saw that UI5 framework starts your index HTML. It starts interpreting your code index HTML because you loaded the UI5. Yaha you invoke the UI5. Now UI5 will start reading and executing your index HTML from script tag. Is that clear, everybody? This is the magic of UI5. So we will come to it in a minute, but let's see now what happens. When I run this now, just select the project, say run, take this file path and run it in another window altogether. Makes it easy for me. So I'm just gonna run it in another tab. And boom, congratulations guys, you have got your first UI5 application with MVC ready. मोबाइल जैसा दिख रहा है क्या? दिख रहा है ना मोबाइल जैसा? आया मजा? First UI5, first Fury application kind of application is ready with the proper MVC architecture. That's called MVC design pattern. Using MVC, we have created our first UI5 page. Is that clear, everybody? How to create your first UI5 application using MVC architecture. अभी हम अंदर नहीं गए हैं. We will slowly deep down. We'll have a deep dive inside each of these topics slowly and steadily. Is that at least clear to everybody what is happening here? Are you clear at least these steps? What is happening? Now let me explain you how the view objects are created, how the controller objects are created. So as we just saw, who runs your index HTML, where will it start? Let's understand the whole picture now. So what is happening here? You have something called an index HTML file. Okay. and then you have a view, and then you have a controller, and then index HTML. And now see, suppose we have something called SAP UI5 framework. So guys, what is happening here? No magic is happening. It's the UI5 framework which is taking care of everything. You start your index HTML. When you run as a developer, you say, hey, web IDE, can you run my index HTML? This is where the whole process, the nuclear reaction started from here. From here, the chain reaction was started. You started your nuclear reactor. Okay. Now this nuclear reactor begins a chain reaction. In this chain reaction, one electron attacks on another atom and produces an energy and breaks it down into multiple atoms. And then again electron release, it breaks it down, it attacks on another atom, and 2 to 4, 4 to 16, 16 to 32, like that chain reaction starts, your nuclear reaction starts. So you started the index HTML. This index HTML has invoked first the UI5 framework. Hey UI5, Asmani Takaton. You remember in Doordarshan we used to see in childhood days Alif Laila. You used to remember Aladdin. Aladdin we used to see. They used to invoke. They used to invoke powers. You must have seen Mahabharata or Ramayana where they used to invoke powers. Hey, Asmani Takat, please come. So this is what is happening. Index HTML is actually invoking this power from cloud. Index HTML is saying, hey, please load my UI5 framework. The UI5 framework comes. Now UI5 framework calls your index HTML. Its script tag, this piece of code is getting executed. Okay, this piece of code is getting executed. So UI5 says I am creating a view object. So to the UI5 we are also telling the path where the view is. So UI5 now go and hit your view. Clear everybody? UI5 talks to your view. Now what do you think, which method UI5 will talk to? There are two methods in every view. One is called get controller name. This is a method. This method returns the controller name. It says return the controller name. This is what this is doing. Okay, get controller name. It returns the controller name. Okay, the second method is called get content method, where it returns a object of UI control. Okay, now guys, get controller name. Who is calling get controller name? Anybody? Who is calling get controller name method of the view? Who is calling get controller name? Look at the picture. It's apparent in the picture. Who is calling? This is the view. Inside the view, you have two methods, guys. In this view, you have two methods. Who is calling this method? Who is calling method of view? Is the UI5 framework. Perfect answer. So step number one, you started from here where user starts the application. In step number two, the SAP UI5 framework was loaded. So step number one, this was step number one. Step number two, the UI5 framework was loaded. Step number three, UI5 framework calls the method get controller name. This is the method which was called by whom? Who called this method of the view? ये method view के अंदर है. This method is inside the view. I will show you. I didn't show the view yet. You will see that this method is inside the view. Who is calling this method? UI5 framework is calling. So what do you think this return? The view is returning controller name to whom? To whom the view is returning the controller name? To whom the view is returning the controller name? To whom the view is returning the controller name? To whom the view? Yes, perfect answer. जो call कर रहा है उसी को तो देगा. The person who is calling the view. So view will return now the object of name of the controller. Only name return किया है इसने. It returned the name of the controller. Now, what UI5 has with him? 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 What UI, it has the name of the controller. ये controller का address return कर दिया इसने. We return the address of the controller. UI5 now knows where is my controller. UI5 will go and call the controller now and instantiate the object of the controller. That is step number 4. SAP UI5 framework now goes to the controller and create its object. Clear everybody? It creates its object of controller now. So SAP UI5 created the object of the controller. This one is the object of controller SAP UI5 has created. With the help of whom SAP UI5 was able to create this object? Who helped UI5 to find out the address of the controller? Who helped the UI5 to find the address? View controller, get controller name method of the view helped him. Okay, so this is what helped UI5 to find the address of controller. Now it created the object. What UI5 does next, it calls the next method of the view called get content. Sorry, create content. Method name is incorrect. It is create content method which it calls, and it passes this controller object as an input parameter to this method. Okay, what is happening? It will call the create content method. The UI5 will now call in the fifth action. It calls the create content method, and it also pass this controller object. इधर से इसको pass कर देगा. Are you clear, guys? Are you seeing what is happening? This controller object which UI5 has, it will pass the controller object here to this create content method of the view. Can you see as an import parameter o controller, which means the view will receive now the controller object. So view gave the controller name. उसने उसका पता बताया. पता बताने से UI5 created the object of controller, and now your UI5 is passing this object which it has created to the view. Is this flow clear to everybody? Very easy, 5 steps. Step number 1, you started index HTML, it loaded the UI5. Now UI5 framework, you are creating an index HTML view object. You told the address of the view to the UI5. Yeah, the first thing which you did is you told the address of the view to the UI5. That's what the code we have written in index HTML. With this view object, UI5 hits the view method get controller name. It gets the name of the controller. Then it hits the controller. It creates the object of the controller, and then it calls the create content method of the view and pass this controller object to create content method. This is how UI5 is executing your MVC application. Did you guys understood behind the scene what is happening, how UI5 is executing your application? Is that clear everybody? How UI5 framework is executing your application? Any doubt in this? If not, let's proceed and see these methods. अब व्यू देखोगे तो समझ में आ जाएगा. एक सेकंड में व्यू समझ जाओगे. Let's go to the view and see the view, and now go inside view. Voila! Can you see the first method? Get controller name. What it is returning? Anybody? What this is returning? Get controller name method is returning what? What it is returning? Anybody? What this get controller name is returning? What it is returning? One question to you guys. What the get controller name? It's returning the address of the controller. Perfect answer. KS has got it right. It is returning the address of controller. देखो, जेरी इज योर रूट फोल्डर, वेब ऐप फोल्डर. कंट्रोलर फोल्डर के अंदर अनुभव बोल के कंट्रोलर पड़ा हुआ है, उसका एड्रेस इसने रिटर्न कर दिया. कैन यू सी गाइस, दिस इज द एड्रेस ऑफ द कंट्रोलर इट इज रिटर्निंग. नाउ सेकंड क्वेश्चन टू ऑल ऑफ यू, किसको रिटर्न कर रहा है ये? To whom it is returning the controller object? To whom it is returning controller object? Perfect answer, Sayyed. It's returning to UI5 framework. It is returning the controller object. Now guys, what UI5 framework does? What UI5 framework will do? What will UI5 framework will do now? What will UI5 framework? It will create the object of controller. UI5 framework will create now the object of your controller. And then what UI5 framework does? UI5 framework created the object of the controller. What it does now? Anybody? What it will do? It will pass the object of controller to the view method create content. See, it has passed the object here. Can you see this, guys? It has passed the object of the controller to the create content method. Can you see? It has passed the object of controller to create content method. Can you see, guys? It is passing, it's calling create content method and it's passing the object of the controller to create content method. Is this step clear or not? Guys, did you understood behind the scene what is happening? How UI5 is passing the object of the controller, how it created, because view told the UI5 यहाँ पे है. It's like shootout at Lokanwala. You told the police where the gangster is. Police go and caught up the gangster. Police shoot out the gangster and police now is giving you a reward. Because you told the address, now I'm giving you a reward. Here is your reward. Here is your controller object. The whole Ramayana is happening because your logic, your processing logic lies in controller, and you want to invoke that logic from here. And you to call the method of controller, what do you need to call a method of a class? What do you need to call method of a class? What do you need to call method of a class? Anybody? Simple object oriented question. What do you need? You need an object. Now, controller is your class where you have functionality. What do you need to call method of a controller? What do you need to call to method of a controller? What do you need to do to call method of a controller? What do you need to do to call method of a controller? You need object of the controller, and that object you have it now with you in the view. Clear, everybody? That object you have with you as part of your view signature, as part of input parameter of create content method, which makes it easy to call any method of controller. Now let me remove this whole code which is generated by SAP. And now I simply write my input field here. Those who have practiced yesterday's exercise, you can easily understand what I'll do now here. I'm creating an input field object, just giving an ID, input field. And then I'll also create var, a button object. And now here inside this, we will just give the press action. And watch out, I'll give O controller dot kill me. Yeah, I'm saying O controller dot kill me. Watch out, guys, here. O controller dot kill me. What do you think kill me is what? And say return. I am saying please return object of my input field, comma, object of my button. Okay, so this kill me is an action. It's an action handler. Yesterday we are writing an anonymous function. Now we are saying we are going to write a function in the controller object. You see, object of controller. Kill me. Go to controller, and in this controller here write a function called kill me. Yeah, just write kill me, and you can do whatever you like here. Suppose you want to display now the name what user entered in the input field. So step 1, obtain the object of input field. Anybody? What is the code to write to get the object of runtime instance of running application? What is the code to write get the runtime instance of running application? Perfect answer. Deepak has got it right in the first go. SAP UI get core. That give you the runtime instance of running application. This instance, this object has what is the method name inside this object to get the object of input field. What is the method name inside this object to get the object of input field? What is the method name inside the object to get the object of input field? Perfect answer by ID. What is the ID of my input field? ID of my input field is ID INP. Let's pump it here. And now what is the method name to get the value? You can say var val whatever, and you say dot get value. It gives you the value of the input field, and now you can say alert pop up and just display the value. So together with MVC, I have also showed you guys the solution of yesterday's exercise. This kill me earlier, this whole code, this whole function you were writing at front of directly event handler. Now this code moves to the controller. Okay, this code moved to the controller, and you're saying controller ka object dot method name. Is this line clear to everybody what we did? So your view only contains the display logic, the UI elements, and your controller includes the processing logic, whatever you have. Model, view, controller. Right now there's no model here, it's only the view and controller in this example. This is the simplest example. So create content method returns always the object of your UI elements which you want to display on the on the UI, on the view. Yeah, or this is a view method, right? It's a view. So view is returning the object of UI elements which the view will display on the UI. Let's come back and test it. I can come back, refresh the page, and you will now see an input field and a button. Oops, I forgot to give label for the button. It's इसीलिए खाली आ रहा है. Let's give a label for the button, and I say kill me. Save this. Let's come back, refresh the page, and voila, you can see an input field on the top, and I can say this is my MVC. Magic. Click on the button, and there you go. This is my MVC. Magic is getting printed in the pop-up. Are you guys clear with the step-by-step, no copy paste of code, line by line description of how to create a view, how to create a controller, how to address every view and every controller? You see, the address is very important. That's all possible because of namespace. Namespace is actually the address of your root folder, which is Jerry. In this case, we are going inside and then giving the path of every file. Any file in future you will work with, this namespace is very important. ये सबसे पहले यही आएगा. Before anything you put, this namespace is going to come as part of your project, guys. Are you guys all clear with this whole concept? The basic MVC application, we created our first MVC application. No copy paste of code. Don't ever copy paste the code. You will not be able to understand concepts if you copy paste. Yeah, any questions before we close today's class? So please try to just repeat this exercise. I don't want to give an exercise. Try to repeat the whole thing. Try to convert your current exercise, which I gave you yesterday with MVC architecture. That's an exercise for today. Okay. So you see, index HTML to the UI5 framework, we told the path. Here is where we are informing UI5. Hey, UI5, my root folder is Jerry. Please represent Jerry as my root folder. Okay. That's what I've told here, which is favorite character, cartoon character of Gita. That's what I mentioned here. You can mention anything you like, your favorite cartoon character, to understand the concept. Any questions?
Uh,
Yes, please.
yeah, hi Anvo,
Hey,
Deepak
hi.
this side.
Yes, please.
Yeah, why MVC design pattern has been chosen over other design patterns?
Okay.
This was one of the interview question. Uh,
Okay. Okay, that's an industry standard. MVC design pattern was initially designed itself. In case you have UI, MVC design pattern should be used over other design pattern. The second benefit is to modularize and divide the clear responsibility on each module. View, its responsibility is only to display and present the UI elements to the user. Controller, its responsibility is to manage the incoming output, process the input, and produce the output, and also orchestrate between the view and the model. Data model. The model, however, is just the source of data, holds all the data inside in a protected way or non-protected way, and whenever needed it can supply the data to the view or to the controller on the demand basis. So this way you have clear segregation of responsibilities between each of the objects. Just like in a family, you've grown up, most of us have grown up in typical Indian families, joint families. We all have observed in our childhood that everybody has their own responsibilities in family. My mom, she's a housemaker. She used to work in kitchen. My dad, he's a businessman. He used to go to work every day and used to earn the livings for us. Yeah. Me, myself, and my brother, We used to go to school. Our responsibility was to study. We should not go to office. We should not go to shop and earn the money. That is my dad's responsibility. What if we all mess up? Imagine my dad working in kitchen, my mom going to school, and I'm going to business. What will happen? All our life gets disturbed. This is what exactly object oriented world is all about. In object oriented world, we try to make sure and segregate the responsibility on each of the entity or each of the artifact. In MVC design pattern, exactly the same thing is given. You can give this example of housemaker. Yeah. You can tell in interview if they are unable to understand. You can tell these kind of examples in interview also. He will be impressed. Interviewer will be impressed with you. So you can say in this MVC pattern, there is a word which we heavily used in OOPS programming: segregation of responsibility. दिस इज ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड वर्ल्ड. ये बहुत जाना माना वर्ल्ड है, पूरे वर्ल्ड में यूज होता है ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड वर्ल्ड के context में. Segregation of responsibility, big word guys. This word is used in entire oops app. So here we have clear segregation of responsibility on each object. If you look at Fundafox, everything is an object. View is also an object, controller is also an object, model is also an object. Look at here guys. What is view? It's an object. We just created the view object. What is controller? Controller is an object. You see, UI5 created the object of this controller. Model, when you go to model unit, you will see model is also an object. Everything is object. So here it's a segregation of responsibility between object. So MVC design pattern fits best to segregate the responsibility when it comes to creating a UI based application. If you go and look at industry pattern, if you go and look at industry standard, MVC is used as a standard in industry. That is why we are also using MVC to be able to create UI5 app, be it Angular JS, be it Android, be it iPhone development, be it any other UI technology based development, be it in SAP WebDin Pro or BSP. Similarly, we are also using the MVC pattern. Hope that answer your question with an example, practical example in real life. What will happen when you start going to business, your dad start kitchen, and your mom go to school? Yeah. What will happen? Exactly same thing will happen. If we mess up these things, exactly same thing will happen. Here you have clear responsibility. Your code is modularized, and this is why it is possible to do future extensions without disruption in this code. It's completely reusable model. You will see in the next class. I will show you some real power of MVC pattern. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. And one more thing, any other design pattern which is used in industry widely
There
other
are
than
lots of
MVC?
other design patterns, like we have factory design pattern, we have singleton design pattern, we have template design pattern, we have com design pattern, we have proxy, we have facade, which is heavily used in industry, facade design pattern, we have event listener, we have decorator. These are all a lot of design patterns which we use in industry. If you want to become an architect, as I mentioned initially in my class today, please subscribe my oops app course. That will make you an architect in your company. तुम्हारे नॉलेज लेवल को यहाँ तक पहुंचा दूंगा कि कोई तुम्हें टच नहीं कर पाएगा, छू नहीं पाएगा, इतना आगे निकल जाओगे. दिस इज माई ईयर्स एंड ईयर्स ऑफ एफर्ट. वेरी यूनिक courses I've designed to make sure that you achieve the maximum in your career. So I worked as an architect for like 4 to 5 years, and during my architectural career, the first thing which I learned was design pattern. It is must. It's a must need today. And another important information or a warning to everybody, अगर कोडिंग नहीं अच्छी लगती तो छोड़ दो सॉफ्टवेयर इंडस्ट्री. आज ही छोड़ दो. दिस इंडस्ट्री इज नॉट फॉर यू. अगर यहाँ रहना है तो कोडिंग तो अच्छी लगनी पड़ेगी, करना पड़ेगा कोडिंग. अगर कोडिंग अच्छी, मेनी पीपल कम टू मी, अनुभव, आई एम चेंजिंग माई डोमेन, लर्निंग UI5, आई डोंट लाइक टू बी कोडर. बॉस, sorry, this industry is not for you. If you don't like coding, if you dislike coding, you just want to do basic configuration thing, drag drop करना है केवल, छोड़ दो इंडस्ट्री को. ये तुम्हारे लिए नहीं है. Explore your passion. Maybe your passion is in swimming. Maybe your passion is in photography. Maybe your passion is something else: bungee jumping, rock climbing, rappelling, adventurous sports. It could be anything. Maybe making movies. It's up to you. Leave software industry today. Don't be in software industry anymore. People with lots of experience, they say अनुभव सर इतना साल हो गया, अब तो बाल भी सफेद हो गए, अब कोडिंग करके क्या करेंगे? Guys, situation is going to be tough for you. Learning is a continuous process. You can't stop your learning in a day. It is continuous process. You have to continuously learn. You can't stop in a day or so. Look at my backlog item which I defined for myself. Look at here. This is my backlog item. ये सब मुझे पढ़ना है अभी. All these things I have to learn. I became trainer not by force. I became trainer by choice. I have seen in industry people who have no choice, जिसका जॉब नहीं लगता ट्रेनिंग कराने लग जाता है वो. दिस इज हाउ मैक्सिमम पीपल बिकम ट्रेनर्स. जिसको कहीं ओपनिंग नहीं मिला, जिसको कुछ नहीं मिला, जिसको कोई जॉब नहीं लगा, उसने ट्रेनिंग का इंडस्ट्री पकड़ा. दिस इज व्हाट माय एक्सपीरियंस. 60% trainers are becoming trainer because of accident. ट्रेनिंग कोई नहीं कराना चाहता. Nobody wants to teach somebody else. Very difficult job. You see my expectation with myself. This is Anubhav's expectation with Anubhav. Every day I get about 60 to 70 emails. Out of those emails, one or two email demanding something from me. Anubhav, can we do this? Can we do that? Can we do this? Something which I feel is important for everybody. I create a backlog item for myself and note it down in this PPT, in this text file. And many of them I've completed. You see, OPA 5Q unit testing. I've completed this action item. Check my YouTube channel. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done by now. If you subscribe to my YouTube channel, you will not miss out these actions. OPA 5. Search on YouTube OPA 5. Only two videos on entire YouTube. One is from UI5 framework from SAP itself directly. Another is mine. 1 week ago. 1 week ago. See, this is my expectation from myself. So anything, any email you send me, don't think it's going for a waste. I am observing, I am writing everything somewhere. And I became trainer by choice, not by force. Because I love teaching. It's my passion. So don't you think ever you writing an email, it's going for waste. I am having my own learning map myself. This is my learning series, my own learning map for myself, guys. This is what I have, my own learning map. I never stop learning. Before I sleep, I make sure something I've learned at the end of the day. So if you want to become an architect, very important, you must learn design patterns. Lots of design patterns are used in industry and they are very important. अगर architect बनना है जिंदगी में, design pattern सीखना पड़ेगा. Because this is what the first step towards architectural curriculum. Design patterns. I have explained in context of object oriented programming with ABAP the design patterns. But they are common. You can apply them on Java, you can apply them on JavaScript, you can apply them on C, you can apply them on C++, you can apply them Perl, Python, Ruby, ABAP, any programming language, they are common. Design pattern का design समझ जाओ, you can apply anywhere. This is what I covered in my Oops ABAP training. Those who are interested, you can subscribe. It's only available in video mode. Hope that answer your question for design pattern. Great. With that, it's a wrap on today's class. See you tomorrow at the same time. Have a nice day and goodbye, guys. I understand there is some problem going on with our videos on the site. We are working towards improving your experience. Please bear with me. Do not shoot an email. We will definitely work upon it and we will send you the details whenever we have it available. Our team is working towards it to solve those issues. Currently the issue is you cannot maximize the video. This is an issue. We are working on it. Please give me some more time. At least better than something is better than nothing. Yesterday it was again an issue. It was not playing. We have changed the video platform, and now I think at least it is playing, but it is not giving you a maximize option. We are working on it. Please, I'll get back to you soon on that. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow.